Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Double Portion Inheritance Ministries. I'm Maria Merola Wold.
And I'm Gary Wold.
In accordance with 1 Corinthians 9, 7 through 14, after the Sabbath is over, we ask you to prayerfully consider a one-time or recurring donation to www.paypal.com/PayPalMe/DPI Ministries or www.venmo.com@Maria-Merola. You can also use the email address doubleportioninheritance@gmail.com. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Today is December 16th, 2023. And this is the second teaching of the day. We just got done studying on, is Hanukkah a man-made festival? And now we're going into another teaching called He Shall Exalt and Magnify Himself. So let's go ahead and pray. Father Yahuwah, we love you and we praise you. We glorify your name. Yahuwah, we ask you to pour out your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, on each and every one of us. And myself also, and that the words that come forth from my mouth would be divinely ordered by you, Father, that you would anoint the ears of the listeners, that you would anoint my tongue, and that the words that you give me to speak would touch the listeners, and that every person that is listening would receive your blessing, Father, today. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay, so this past week, actually, it's no small coincidence that on December the 13th, 2023, which is an Illuminati number, President Donald Trump has rolled out his latest NFT card featuring himself as a golden image, just like King Nebuchadnezzar did. You know, and here it is. I'm going to blow it up larger. I don't know why it's taken so long. Yep. So this is his latest NFT card that he's selling online. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, he owns at least 318 copyrights in the database of copyrights in the United States. So that means everything that has his name on it, T-shirts, hats, you name it, NFT cards, he owns the copyright on them. He's making money off of these things. So someone might say, oh, but he's not the one doing this. It's his followers. No. He knows. He is the one that's exalting himself. He is the one who is doing exactly what King Nebuchadnezzar did and showing himself as a golden statue, just like King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Okay, so not only do the Illuminati love to initiate their black magic spells on the 13th day of the month, which they call the Ides of the month. See, in the occult world, they believe that every month has a spirit presiding over it. And by the middle of the month, they call that the Ides of the month. So they believe that by the time the moon is full and it's the middle of the month, they believe that that spirit grows stronger and stronger, and they believe that the middle of the month is the best time to do their magic spells. So, you know, in the Illuminati, the 13th day is a very important number. Also, the year 2023 contains the number 322 backwards, which is a number that is used in the order of the skull and bones. Okay, and I talked about that a little bit in this other blog called The Trump Indictment. Is he a persecuted Messiah or a Barabbas scapegoat? So if you want to learn more about the order of the skull and bones and why they use this number, I talk about that in this other blog. But also, they use the number 322 as a way of disguising 666. And I talk about that in this other blog. Does the number 666 appear in the Bible? Now, some of you might be saying to yourselves, but there have been lots of statues of presidents over the years. That's true. This is true, but it has always been somebody else fashioning these statues. However, with Trump, he is obviously in love with himself and he is exalting himself, just like the prophecy of the little horn, where it says that he shall magnify himself above every other god. It tells us in Daniel 8:25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Well, you know, back on August 13th, 2020, he announced on Twitter that he had brokered a deal with 3 nations, the United Arab Emirates and Israel and Bahrain. And we are told that the little horn shall subdue 3 kings. Well, I believe that was what this was, this was a fulfillment of him subduing 3 kings. And he did it with a peace agreement. And in the peace agreement, in the Abraham Accords, there is a clause that says all these 3 nations who signed the agreement had to cooperate with the deadly snake bites. You know, they had to cooperate with the development of and the distribution of. So, yes, he was responsible for destroying many with a peace agreement. Also, in Daniel 11:36, it says, and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every El, or in other words, every god, and false gods, that is, and shall speak marvelous things against the El of El. That's how it says in Hebrew, the God of gods, and shall prosper until the indignation be accomplished. For that is that which is determined shall be done. Now, there has not been another American president or another political leader in recent times who has forged as many idolatrous images of himself as Donald Trump has. Here's another NFT card that he had made earlier this year, and it shows him once again as a chess piece on a chessboard in gold, and, on the chessboard you see 45. The black and white checkerboard in Freemasonry has to do with the Hegelian dialectic, the black and the white coming together. The solve et coagula, it has to do with the principles of Lucifer. The solve et coagula has to do with Baphomet. Baphomet is who they worship in Freemasonry. I'll show it to you here. He's a disgusting, an absolutely disgusting creature, Baphomet. See, I want to find one that shows the tattoo on his arm. And you can see in some of these images, the tattoo that says Solve et Coagula. Let me see if I can find an image that shows that. Yep, here it is. So you can look and you can see Solve et Coagula. Well, in Latin, that means solution and coagulation. In other words, they're the ones that create the problem so that they can step in with their solution. So they create a problem and then they present the solution. That's what this phrase, solve et coagula, means. Solution and coagulation. And this is what the principles of Freemasonry are based on. The black and the white checkerboard, the Hegelian dialectic, bringing together 2 seemingly opposite ideologies. Okay? The black and the white. And you'll notice he's wearing the 5-pointed star, just like Lucifer. And so Trump is definitely a 33rd degree Freemason. For those of you who don't believe me, I recommend my other blog that I have called Is President Trump a Globalist? And in that blog, I go into a lot of history behind Trump's grooming and how he was mentored by his pastor named Norman Vincent Peale. And Norman Vincent Peale was, he admitted that he was, a 33rd degree Freemason. And in this blog, I show Norman Vincent Peale. Here he is. And, Norman Vincent Peale admitted on the Phil Donahue show. I remember watching it in 1985. He was on the Phil Donahue show saying that he admitted that he was a 33rd degree Freemason, and his father was a 33rd degree Mason, and his grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason. And so, Trump constantly talks about Norman Vincent Peale, and he says that, Norman Vincent Peale was his pastor and his dear friend, his good friend, and his mentor. And so, there was an article. I think it was, I'm trying to find it, but I think there's an article that talks about that Norman Vincent Peale taught Trump how to love himself, how to worship himself. Let me see if I can find that. I know it's in here. It's just a matter of finding it exactly. But yeah, there was an article about how Norman Vincent Peale taught Trump how to worship himself. See if I can find it. It's one of these, but yeah, let me see if I can look it up real quick. Norman Vincent Peale taught Trump to worship himself. Here it is. Politico put this out back in, I think it was 2015, how Norman Vincent Peale taught Donald Trump to worship himself. Okay, so yeah, he is definitely a Luciferian. A lot of people don't want to believe that because he presents himself like he's a Christian, but he's pretending. Okay, he's pretending. And something most people don't know this, but Freemasons use the term born again. But when they use the term born again, they don't mean born again the way, the Bible speaks about being born again. They believe that, Jesus, quote unquote, Jesus is a reincarnation of Lucifer. So like for instance, in Isaiah 14:12, when it says, "How art thou fallen, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" The King James Version says, son of the morning. Why? Because Lucifer the Hebrew name is Halel. Okay. His Hebrew name is Halel. It was a fallen angel. And our Messiah said, "I saw Satan fall as lightning." So we know that Lucifer is indeed the same character as Satan, because it says, "How are you fallen from heaven, O Halel?" So his name in Hebrew, Halel. Okay, but our Messiah said, "I saw Satan fall from heaven." Well, the King James Version says he's a son of the morning because he's a created being. But in other corrupted translations, they call him the morning star. Lucifer is not the morning star. That is a lie. Actually, in Revelation 22:16, our Messiah is the bright and morning star. It says that he is the bright and morning star. So in some of these corrupt Bible translations, like for instance, the Roman Catholic Bible, the Latin Vulgate, they inaccurately refer to Lucifer as the morning star. That's why I stick with the King James Bible, because it comes from the Hebrew Masoretic text. And the Hebrew does not call, Halel or Lucifer the morning star. He's a created being because Messiah created all things. According to Colossians 1:16, it says he created all things, including, angels, principalities, and powers. So he's merely a son. He's a son of the morning. In other words, the morning star. Yahushua created him. But see, in Freemasonry, they say that the one who fell from heaven is Jesus. So they believe Jesus is Lucifer, that Jesus and Lucifer are one and the same being. So when they say they believe in Jesus Christ in Freemasonry, they really mean Lucifer. So you can't take what they say seriously, okay? And I recently heard a video that somebody sent me where Trump says, "I'm not the savior." He says, and he points to heaven and he's like, Jesus is the Savior, and everybody says, see, he's a Christian. I'm like, but don't you realize the Apostle Paul, Shaul, says, if any man comes preaching another Yahushua, or another Jesus, if you will, let him be accursed. So just because they use the name Jesus doesn't mean they're preaching the Messiah that we believe in from the Bible. They're preaching another Yahushua, who they believe is Lucifer. Okay, so yeah, when Freemasons use the name Jesus Christ, they really mean the Lucifer reincarnated. And I know that to be a fact, okay? I've known people that used to be Freemasons, and they will, admit that. So as a matter of fact, Trump is listed as the owner of 318 copyrights in the U.S. database. And to learn more, see my other blog, The One Who Comes in His Own Name. Trump is obsessed with golden images. They even minted a gold coin with his image on it. It's a temple shekel, okay? And, to see more examples of how much this man exalts himself, I have another blog called 14 Biblical Identifiers of the Little Horn. And I'll just show you just a few little examples just so you understand where I'm coming from. Here is a graphic I made. There was a golden image of him made in March of 2021 at the CPAC event. There are statues of him looking like Buddha. See if I can find, that they're made in China, and they're actually selling these online. It's a Buddha statue with Trump's face. Here's a Chinese worker, painting one of the statues. In Italy, they erected a giant colossal statue of him looking like Caesar. And there was a guy in India who was worshiping Trump and made a statue of him and was, offering up, incense to him every day. He eventually died when he found out that Trump contracted, the CV, and, and so then, look, in 2019, the Jerusalem Post had a headline that said, "The King Messiah Trump," because they practically worship him, over there. I'm talking about the global elites, the Zionists, the political Zionists. I'm not talking about the average Israeli citizen, but I'm talking about the political Zionists, because he made Jerusalem the capital city again. And he moved the United States Embassy there. So, there's T-shirts that say, "I love Daddy Trump. Trump is my daddy." He even tweeted this on August 21st, 2019. He said, he's thanking this guy named Wayne Allen Root, who is a broadcaster. And he says, "Thank you, Wayne Allen Root, for your very nice words." And he's like repeating what Wayne Allen Root said about him. President Trump is the greatest president for Jews, and for Israel. And he says, in the history of the world, not just America, he's the best president for Israel in the history of the world. And the Jewish people in Israel love him like he's the king of Israel. They love him like he's the second coming of God. Okay. He said these things about himself. Okay. And here's some other crazy people in America. They put up a billboard. Now, I don't know if Trump did this or if his followers did this, but see, if Trump didn't want them to put up a billboard like this, he could stop it immediately. Because like I said, he owns copyrights on everything that has his name and his image on it. So here's a billboard of Trump in Georgia, and they quote, "Unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders." They're quoting Isaiah 9:6, and they've got Trump's picture there. And here's another one in Missouri and also in Texas, and it says, "The word became flesh," John 1:14. And it says, "Make the gospel great again." See, I don't know who's putting up these billboards, but it wouldn't surprise me if Trump's doing it himself, because that's his nature. Here's an idol that you can buy on Amazon. It's called King of Trumps. It's an idol. that you can buy on Amazon. 60 Minutes did a show called The Second Coming of Donald Trump. They dedicated this giant sign to Donald Trump in Israel called Trump Heights. And as a matter of fact, it just so happens to be on Mount Hermon, where Joshua, the son of Nun, and the children of Israel fought against the giants. Isn't that crazy? And it's actually in the same place where they call it the House of Prayer, 24/7 House of Prayer. And as I said, there's T-shirts being sold that say Daddy and Trump is my daddy. Another guy sold a book called President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. So yeah, this man is worshipped all over the world. So don't kid yourself, okay? There was another Antichrist leader named Antiochus Epiphanes IV, who also erected a golden image of Zeus on December 25th in 167 BC. We just talked about that in the previous teaching. Antiochus ordered the Yehudim, the Jews, to fall down and worship the golden image under penalty of death. And it was the erection of this golden image that kicked off the Great Tribulation of that time, which lasted for almost 3.5 years in the days of the Maccabees. In Daniel chapter 8, we are told that the sanctuary of Yahuwah would be cleansed after the little horn would defile it for 2,300 evening and morning sacrifices, which amounts to 1,150 days. Now, some people think that's talking about 6 years and some change, but no, it's not. Because when you read this in Hebrew, it doesn't say 2,300 days. It says 2,300 evening and morning sacrifices. And because they do 2 sacrifices per day, when you divide 2,300 by 2, you end up with 1,150 days. So that's exactly the length of days that the image of Zeus stood in the temple, was 1,150 days, which is 140 days shorter than the image of the beast, which is going to stand in the temple for 1,290 days, according to Daniel 12:11 through 12. So, in the days of the Maccabees, the abomination stood for 1,150 days, but in the end of days, it's going to last for 140 days longer, okay? Additionally, Trump's rollout of his golden image of himself comes just in time for what the occult world celebrates as the 12 days of Christmas. Now, most of you don't know this, but in ancient times, it was a custom in Babylon to begin sacrificing bambinos, and I'm saying that word because I'm trying to speak in a little bit more shrouded language here, but they would sacrifice bambinos on the altar to Moloch from December the 13th until December 25th. So whenever you hear people singing the 12 days of Christmas, that's what this is. That's what it's talking about, those 12 days. So it's no coincidence that he chooses December 13th to roll out this golden image of himself, because it's the 12 days of sacrifices of bambinos leading up to December 25th. Those who are Luciferians know and understand the rituals that are associated with the mystery school religions. And so this is no coincidence. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm going to skip a little bit and go all the way down to the bottom because I want to share this with you. On December 13th, the same day that Trump rolled out this golden image on his NFT card, Google rolled out what's called the Gemini Ultra, which beats Chat GPT-4. Okay, it's an AI image that can speak. You know, I believe this is the image of the beast that they are going to cause to speak in Revelation 13:15. But they call it Gemini. And I don't think that's a coincidence either, because, see, President Trump is a Gemini. I mean, he's born on June 14th, 1946, under the zodiac sign of Gemini. I'm just thinking that this can't be a coincidence. In fact, in the 8th chapter of Joshua 8, 1 through 12, 9, we see a prophetic picture of Joshua being like the Messiah, because, you know, our Messiah's real name is Yahushua, which is the same name as Joshua. Okay, but we see in these chapters of Joshua that he's fighting against the giants, the beast, and the king of AI. Okay, now listen to this. I looked up I, and guess what? It's number 5856, IE, and it means ruin. And then there's a root word, number 5753, Ava, and it means to do amiss. It means to bow down. Okay, because isn't the beast going to force people to bow down to his image under penalty of death? Of course. So this word, I, the king of I in the book of Joshua, means ruin, but it has another root word, to do amiss, to bow down, to make crooked, to commit iniquity, to pervert, okay, to do wickedly. Okay, so I don't think it's an accident that they're calling this AI Gemini. I think there's something more to it than what meets the eye, okay? I think it's all part of making Trump perhaps they're planning, an assassination attempt. I know that Tucker Carlson's been talking about it. Maybe they're going to make an image of Trump, an AI image of him. I don't know. But there's certainly so many hints of that. We'll see how it all unfolds. I don't pretend to know exactly how it's going to unfold, but I'm definitely seeing hints of this. Okay. So the 12 days of Christmas have been celebrated by the heathens since the days of Nimrod, who built the Tower of Babel. And you see, he wanted to make a name for himself. He wanted his kingdom to become famous. This is also reminiscent of Nimrod's famous Tower of Babel. It tells us in Genesis chapter 11 that the people built this tower and they said, let us make a name for ourselves. Doesn't that sound awfully similar to Make America Great Again? Of course it does. Okay, so displaying golden images of himself has been the pattern for Trump. He's obviously in love with himself. And he has shown adoration for nobody else more than himself. Like I said, at the CPAC 2021 event, he asked his followers to take the the snake bite. And he wants your obedience. Here we see February 26, 2021, golden calf trends after massive statue of Trump is wheeled into CPAC. And there's a golden image there of Trump. This is a pattern with him. And incidentally, for those of you who don't know, I like to go to this website here because they have at least 10 different methods of Gematria. And by the way, Gematria is not witchcraft. Basically, Gematria is just the Greek word for geometry. And we are told in Revelation 13:18 to count the number of the beast. And when you look up that word for count, it's this Greek word sephizo, and it means to compute. Well, we didn't have a language called computer ASCII code when the book of Revelation was written, but now we do. So in this program, you can look up any word and it will show you in ASCII code or in Roman or in Chaldean or Pythagorean in many different ways. So here we have this word, the V, adding up to 666. And now what else do we have adding up to that? The same number. See that? 666. And we are told in Revelation 13, okay, that the beast has a number that a numerical value of his name that is the same numerical value of his mark. So here it is. It says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now, some people would object and say, but the V goes into the arm. It's not in the right hand or in the forehead. Well, that's true. But there is a chip in it that goes to the brain. But I also believe there's going to be another piece, another component that goes along with it that's going to enable people to buy or sell with or without it. And that has to be rolled out. And it hasn't been rolled out yet. But when it does, that's going to be another piece to the mark, right? And it says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So what do we have? We have his number is 666, and we have the mark that he rolled out in 2020 having the same numerical value. That's not a coincidence, okay? And also at this website, I found all these terms adding up to 666. See, this website uses 10 different methods of Gematria. Now, some people, like I said, say it's witchcraft. It's not. We are commanded to count the number of the beast. It's not an option. The word Gematria just means geometry. We use geometry all the time when we measure things, when we build things, when we sew something. Okay, President Donald Trump adds up to 666. This word, the V word, adds up to 666. Mark of the beast adds up to 666. Trump name beast. Trump number beast. Trump is Antichrist. Trump is Satan. I did this with other people's names. I couldn't get a match. Trump is devil. Trump is serpent. Trump is Nimrod. Trump is Assyrian. Trump is clone. Trump is tyrant. Trump from hell. Trump is Pharaoh. Trump is unicorn. Trump is arrogant. Trump is prideful. Trump lawless one. Trump prince of Grecia. You know, that's out of Daniel chapter 10, the prince of Grecia. Trump is Poseidon. Trump is Tyrus. That's out of Ezekiel 28. Trump is Roman. Trump is Haman. Trump third temple. See, he's slated to build the third temple. Trump is Pope. I believe it's entirely possible that he will do away with Pope Francis and he will step into that position himself. I believe that's entirely possible. Trump is Halel. We know that's the Hebrew name for Lucifer. Trump is Tammuz. That's, you know, in Ezekiel chapter 8. Tammuz is supposed to be a reincarnation of Nimrod. Trump is the he-goat. You know, the he-goat is supposed to be Alexander the Great. In Daniel's prophecy, in Daniel chapter 8, Trump is Nero. We know Nero was a type and shadow of Antichrist. Trump is Judas. Trump is Terminator. Trump is Nebuchadnezzar. There's even more, but these are just a few that I've been able to find at this website. And I've not been able to find that many matches with other people. It's just unbelievable. Now, Trump's golden image is reminiscent of the golden image of King Nebuchadnezzar, who ordered the people of his kingdom to fall down and worship his image under penalty of death. Now, what is interesting is that the image that King Nebuchadnezzar ordered stood for 60 cubits high, and it was 6 cubits wide. But there were also 6 musical instruments that alerted the people of the empire to come and worship the image, creating a trinity of 666. Thus, we have the golden image of King Nebuchadnezzar as a precursor to the final image of the beast. Additionally, we have one of the musical instruments that were used to alert the people to worship is a coronet. Well, guess what? The coronet is a trumpet. In other words, a little trump. As a matter of fact, The Hebrew word for horn, as in little horn, is this word keren, and it literally means little trump, or it could mean trump brought low. Because see, Trump has been brought low, but see, it's all been by design. He's purposely allowing himself to be indicted and arrested because he has to make himself look like the poor, persecuted martyr. He has to make himself look like the Messiah. So when you look at the Hebrew word for trump, it's this word keren, which means a cornet or a little trumpet. The word little is this other word ze'er, which means to dwindle, to be small, to make little. Well, they're doing this on purpose, where they're making Trump look like the poor, persecuted martyr. He's being humiliated. He's being brought low. He's being made small. It's all by design, because, see, what they want to do is make him look like the Messiah, so that he starts out small, but then he's elevated to this position of a world ruler. And see, in the occult world, they believe that in order to make it to the top, you first have to become like the phoenix. The phoenix is this mystical bird who dies, but then he rises out of the ashes and he is resurrected. Okay, so this term little horn totally fits Trump to the T. And this is how they are manipulating the minds of Christians and Jews around the world, making him appear to be like a Washington outsider, that he's not affiliated with the deep state. But actually, don't kid yourself, he absolutely is part of the Hegelian dialectic. And we've got several passages in Daniel chapter 3 where it talks about King Nebuchadnezzar saying, right here it says that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, and that word means trump or trumpet, when you hear the trumpet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, that you fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And, it's repeated again in verse 7, in verse 10, in verse 12. And that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they refused to bow to this image, and they were cast into the furnace. And so this is what the beast is going to do. He's going to force people to worship his image under penalty of death. So the first time we see the number 666 is with King Nebuchadnezzar's image. As I said, the image was 60 cubits. That means 60 cubits. In Hebrew, that word is shetin. And then it's 6 cubits wide, which is the Hebrew word shet. And he set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So the height of the image was 60 cubits. The width of it was 6 cubits. And 6 musical instruments were used to alert the people. So right there you see 666 with King Nebuchadnezzar's image. So the Chaldean word 60, meaning 60, like I said, shetin, the word 6 is the word shet, and thus we have the number 66, and then the final 6 has to do with the 6 musical instruments. The second time we see 666 is in 2 Chronicles 9:13, and it's where King Solomon collected 66 talents of gold in 1 year into his treasury. Now, King Solomon started out on the right foot, but then what happened? He got corrupted by his 1,000 wives that were heathen women. They influenced him to build temples to their pagan deities. So King Solomon fell away and he became an evil guy. Now, I hope he repented on his deathbed. I hope he did. But there is a precedent in the Tanakh, or what we would call the Old Testament. There is a precedent for the number 666. Some people try to say, oh, it doesn't say in the book of Revelation 666. This guy by the name of Walid Shubat, back in let me see, mark of the beast, and we can find that. He tried to say that, the mark of the beast is actually the Bismillah, it's supposed to be the mark of Islam, the Bismillah. And when he first came out and started teaching that, like in 2005, 2006, I saw right through him and said, this guy is trying to deflect away from the truth about 666. He's trying to make us believe that has nothing to do with the papacy, that has nothing to do with Rome, that it all has to do with Islam. And sure enough, we found out later that Walid Shubat is indeed a Roman Catholic and probably a Jesuit infiltrator, because if you go to Walid Shubat's website, you see that he worships Mary. He teaches people to pray the rosary beads. He teaches people to, worship Mary. And in fact, our own government, the Homeland Security, was hiring him to do these speaking engagements in public schools and in churches. And they were paying him $5,000 just to be able to, to go to these speaking engagements. And, he's supposed to be a Palestinian American born in West Bank to an American mother who converted, to Christianity. But what version of Christianity? Not what we would think, Roman Catholicism. And so he was deceiving people and telling people, oh, Revelation 13:18 doesn't use the number 666. And what he was doing is he was using this other version of the Bible called the Vaticanus Codex, which that's also another red flag. This Bible from the Vatican called a Vaticanus Codex. And in the Greek, it's chi, z, stigma. The three Greek letters, chi, z, stigma. But he tried to say that it's the Bismillah. But you have to basically turn it upside down to try to make it resemble the Greek chi, z, stigma. And here's what it looks like. I made this a few years ago, and I said, hoax alert. Walid Shubat claims that this is Arabic for in the name of Allah, but this is not true. The Bismillah is seen in Arabic below. This is what the Bismillah looks like, in the name of Allah. So he claims this means in the name of Allah, but the Greek chi, z, stigma are the Greek letters that mean 660 and 6. He's trying to say that it means in the name of Allah. Not true at all. Okay, not true. It's just a hoax. Totally a hoax. He's trying to deflect away from the idea that Rome is involved in the mark of the beast. He wants us to think that it's all about Allah. And actually, the Roman Catholic Church is the one who created the religion of Allah, or the religion of Islam, back in the 6th century. So even though he's trying to say, oh, no, it's not the Catholic Church, it's Islam, well, they're all connected. So it doesn't matter. But here we have the number 666 as 3 Greek words, chi, z, stigma. Okay. And what I did was I made a graphic using paleopictographs. And I showed in the book of Revelation 13:18, because I have it on my eSword. You can see in Paleo Hebrew in Revelation 13:18 the number 6 in Paleo, which is number 8337. In Hebrew, it's the word shesh, and then shishim, which is number 8346, and then you have the 100. And then 6. So what we have here is 660 and 6. So all these words in Hebrew in Revelation 13:18 spell out 660 and 6. So it's there. So don't let anybody deceive you into thinking, oh, it's not really the number 666. It's the Bismillah. That's a lie. That's a lie. It is 666. And then in 2 Chronicles 9:13, when Solomon collected 666 talents of gold, it's the exact same words. There you have 6, which is 8337, which is the word shesh, which means 6, and then 100, which is 3967, same thing that's here, right? This word right here, and 80, which is 60 and 6. So 2 Chronicles 9:13 says the identical thing as Revelation 13:18. 600, 80, and 6. Okay? So don't let anyone deceive you. 666 is in the Bible, and anybody that tries to deflect away from 666 is probably a Jesuit or an imposter or somebody that's trying to deflect away from the truth to deceive you. Okay? Don't listen to that person that's teaching that. Okay? So what exactly is the abomination of desolation? Well, Scripture teaches us what to look for in the end of days by giving us historical prototypes. Like I said, we can see the first prototype in Scripture of an image of the beast in Daniel, where King Nebuchadnezzar, whose name adds up to 666 in Chaldean, commanded all the people in his kingdom to worship his image under penalty of death. And then we see the Apostle John, Yehukanan, was shown that the end-time beast, the one-world religion and government of the anti-Messiah, will set up an image in the Jerusalem temple, causing all the inhabitants of the earth to worship him. And we see in Revelation 13:15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, I've got 3 blogs here. This one is called The Image of the Beast and the Abomination of Desolation. I talked about this in another video a couple months ago. And I talked about the fact that, there was a movie that came out in the year 2000 with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. And it was called The Sixth Day. And it was all about cloning. Okay, now I had a dream about cloning back in 2007. And I was shown in this dream that cloning and artificial intelligence were going to be part of creating this image to the beast. But now back on March 20th, 2020, I had this revelation that this word right here, the V, I call it the snake bite. I have to speak in shrouded terms, that this is an abomination to the human temple. Okay. But even though that's the case, that doesn't mean that it stops there. There is going to be a brick and mortar temple. There really is. Okay, and I'll prove it through Scripture. So in history, we've had the first abomination of desolation, Antiochus Epiphanes IV in 167 BCE. On December 25th, he erected an image of Zeus. He sacrificed pigs, unclean animals. Antiochus had his image on the coin. He gave himself the title Epiphania, which that's a Greek word. That word Epiphania means God manifest. And that word in Greek adds up to 666. Then we have another similar fulfillment with the second abomination of desolation. An image of Nero Caesar was erected when General Titus and the Romans came in 70 AD. They erected an image of Caesar and Jupiter. Jupiter is the same deity as Zeus. Only difference is Jupiter is the Roman name and Zeus is the Greek name. They also sacrificed unclean animals and, pigs. Caesar had his image on the coin also. And guess what? Nero Caesar's name in Hebrew and also in Roman Gematria adds up to 666. Then Here's the third abomination of desolation, which you can read this. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it was rolled out on December 21st, 2020, and Trump called it a great Christmas miracle. You can see the ingredients. All these ingredients are unclean. In Leviticus 11, 4 through 47, it says, these you shall not eat. In Leviticus 11, it enumerates all the unclean things we're not supposed to put into our bodies. Rabbit, mouse, pig, horse, shellfish, dog, human, cadaver, carcasses of dead humans. Basically, that's all of those things are in this substance here. Okay? And as I already said, Epiphanes in Greek means God manifest. It has a numerical value of 666. Nero Caesar in Roman numerals is 666. President Donald Trump in computer ASCII code is 666. This V word in computer ASCII code is 666. His image is on the coin. I truly believe it's not going to stop with this. I believe that they are going to erect an AI image of Trump. And I believe that they're going to make it speak and give life to the image. Not the kind of life that Yahuwah gave to Adam when he breathed into Adam the breath of life. A different kind of life. Artificial life. AI. And they're going to make the image speak. Okay? Now, some people say, oh, there's not going to be a temple. There's not going to be, they're saying that this is the ultimate fulfillment of the abomination of desolation. There are people saying that right now. They're saying that we're already in the Great Tribulation. They're saying that by next April, whenever, there's that big earthquake or that big solar eclipse in April over America, that's going to be the second coming of Messiah. There are people that are claiming that. But let me show you why that doesn't jibe with Scripture. Okay. We are shown in Revelation 11, 1 through 2, that there's definitely going to be a brick and mortar temple. And in Revelation 11, 1 through 2, the angels told to measure three separate things. The angels told to measure the temple itself, the altar, and the people that are inside the temple who are worshiping. So this is obviously not talking about a human body. The angels told not to measure the outer court, for it is given to the Gentiles, and they shall trample it underfoot for 42 months. So they're not going to, this is clearly not describing a human body, okay? And, so I recommend that you go to this other blog, because I believe that they were showing us, even in this movie from the year 2000, this clone named Adam, it's called the sixth day. And Adam, in 1 Corinthians 15:45, the Apostle Paul refers to our Messiah as the last Adam. So there's two men in the movie named Adam. Arnold Schwarzenegger's name in the movie is Adam. And they made a clone of him, and the clone is also named Adam. I think they were giving us a hint that they're going to clone, quote unquote, Jesus. Okay. But what's interesting is in the movie, his wife's name is Natalie. When you look up that name, Natalie, it means born at Christmas. Okay. Now, even though our Messiah was not born on December 25th, the devil wants us to think he was. And I remember back in 2001 or 2002, I found this website. It no longer exists, but it's called Christians for the Cloning of Jesus. And at this website, they claimed that they took the DNA samples from the Shroud of Turin, which is currently in the possession of the Vatican. And they claimed that they made a clone of Jesus on December 25th in the year 2000. Well, what's interesting about that is that's exactly when this movie came out. Okay? So I think they were trying to tell us something, I think, okay? And, Trump's family claim that they are descended from the offspring of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. That's why Trump's father's name is Frederick Christ Trump, and his grandmother is Elizabeth Christ Trump. And, you know, I go into a lot of detail about Trump's Merovingian bloodline. If you want to learn about that, you know, I would recommend this other blog called Trump's Merovingian Bloodline, where they claim that they are descendants of Christ himself. And they believe that, you know, Jesus and Mary Magdalene were married and, you know, yada, yada, yada. Of course, it's all a bunch of nonsense, but, you know, this is what they say, right? What they say about themselves. So here we have another golden image of Trump. It's another NFT card. Here's another one. Look, the guy's obsessed with gold. I believe he's just another King Solomon type. He's going to probably rebuild the Solomon's temple is what the Illuminati want. And like I said, they have just rolled this out on the exact same date. Google just launched this on December 13th, called Gemini Ultra, same day that Trump rolled out this new, NFT card of himself looking like a golden image of Nebuchadnezzar. I don't think that's a coincidence. Okay, now here's some other things. I wonder, and I suspect, could they be planning a fake assassination of Trump? Well, on August 31st, 2023, Hungary's Viktor Orban was in an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he said Trump is the only one who can save the Western world. Well, you can watch the interview here, and there's another article, 6 strongmen Trump has praised, and it lists a long list of dictators that Trump admires, okay? And I believe he's basically setting up the 10 horns that will rule with him for 1 hour with the beast. Revelation 17:12 through 13. And he's making friends with all these dictators because I believe he is setting up these people to rule with him for 1 hour with the beast. And it tells us in Revelation 13:4, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? All these indictments and arrests, it's all planned. They're trying to make him look like he's being persecuted by the deep state, by the left, but it's all by design to make him look like the persecuted Messiah. Now, this is interesting. Viktor Orban was wearing an orange tie, which in Gematria, Viktor Orban's name adds up to 33. Orange tie adds up to 33. Trump's nickname is Orange Man. Orange Man adds up to 33. Okay? Now, 99 is the product of 9 times 11. So if you take 33 plus 33 plus 33, you get 99. The Twin Towers were 33 years old when they came down on 9/11. In the Back to the Future movie, they told us about Trump's involvement with 9/11 and a character in the movie named Douglas J. Needles. His last name is Needles. DJ, Douglas J. Okay. So what does the orange tie represent? Well, number one, it's orange because of Trump's nickname, Orange Man. Okay. But also the word orange adds up to 33. Or Orange Man adds up to 33. But also, in Freemasonry, the necktie, there's something about the necktie that has to do with, I forget exactly what it is, but there's like a ritual involved where they have the guy put a noose around his neck and he gets initiated into the brotherhood. So I believe Viktor Orban was, and, Tucker Carlson they were sending out secret messages. Okay. In the occult world, the concept of a necktie predates to early occult ceremonies in which someone being initiated into the brotherhood would have a noose placed around his neck, symbolizing his willingness to give his life for the higher purpose. In this instance, that would be Satan. So the fact that Viktor Orban is wearing an orange necktie, I believe, is signaling that Trump, Orange Man, is the one who will be giving up his life as a sacrifice for the higher purpose, which is the one world order of Antichrist. Now, will they clone him? That's a possibility. Okay, now, here's another possibility. Will it be Donald Trump Sr. or Donald Trump Jr.? Well, it really doesn't matter because Donald Trump Jr. would still be named President Donald Trump, which also equals 666. And, this happened on September 20th, 2023, where Donald Trump Jr. announced on his X account, which was formerly called Twitter, he claimed that he was hacked, that a hacker broke into his account. But I believe they were sending out a cryptic message. And this is what he said. He said, it says the hacker supposedly says Donald Trump Jr.'s X account hacked, claims father died. And then it says Donald Trump Jr.'s account on X was hacked early on September 20th with the former first son's account sharing a string of offensive posts. Okay. And I don't believe this was done, by a hacker. I think this was all a psychological operation. See, President Roosevelt once famously said, in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. And this is, President Roosevelt saying this. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. Okay. Now, this was another quote on Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter account or X account. It says, Donald Trump Jr.'s account on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter appeared to be hacked early Wednesday. One post falsely stated that former President Donald Trump had died, according to screenshots. And the hacker supposedly says, I'm sad to announce my father, Donald Trump, has passed away. I will be running for president in 2024. The tweet said the former president appeared to prove that he was still alive by posting an unrelated message on Truth Social later in the morning. The other tweets said, F Joe Biden, using a racial epithet, said, North Korea is about to get smoked. And when I become president, I'm going to burn the SEC. Okay, so this was all, I believe a psychological operation. I believe they're sending cryptic messages out on purpose. What they have planned, I don't know exactly, but I'm going to postulate one possible scenario. Okay, could it be that the older Donald Trump? Now, no, let me backtrack a little bit. Okay. So there's some rather telling and cryptic things. If Trump Jr. makes it into the Oval Office, it wouldn't change anything, as I've already said, because his name is exactly the same and it has up the same numerical value. And it seems to be that in in Daniel chapter 7, there's a little horn, but then in Daniel chapter 8, it mentions another little horn. Is it possible there's going to be two little horns? I don't know. That's a possibility. Maybe there's the first little horn in Daniel 7, and maybe there's another little horn in Daniel 8. But here's what's interesting. That as of September 20th, 2023, Don Jr. is 45 years of age. But see, by January of 2025, he would be 47 years old. But guess when his birthday was? December 31st, 1977. And also, as of June 14th, 2023, Donald Sr. is now 77 years old. If you add up all the digits in Donald Sr.'s 77th birthday, you get 666 as follows. 6 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 equals 18. Divided by 3 is 666. Now, what are the chances that Donald Trump Sr. is now 77 and Donald Trump Jr. was born in 77? Also, Don Jr. was born on New Year's Eve, which is when the heathens celebrate this pagan god named Janus, who's the pagan deity of the past and the future. Janus has two faces. One faces the past and the other faces the future. Now, could it be that the older Trump is the past while the younger Trump is in the future? Well, I'm just going to postulate here. Trump Sr. was born under the zodiac sign of Gemini, the twins, which makes me think there could be twin Trumps in the Oval Office. And what about, I see this as a possibility, scenario number 1, Donald Trump Sr. chooses his son Don Jr. as his vice president, as his running mate. Number 2, Donald Trump Sr. is assassinated. Number 3, Donald Trump Jr. makes an AI image of his father and forces the people to worship his dad's image. That's another possibility. I have another blog called Will There Be Two Little Horns? And I explore that option in this blog. You know, and here you see them doing the Boaz handshake, right? Freemason handshake. So yeah, I talk about that. See, Donald Trump Jr. adds up to 666. Same thing as President Donald Trump, 666. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so that's a possibility. So I just, it's just something to think about. I'm not saying for sure. I don't pretend to know how it's all going to happen, but I see all these possible scenarios. Now, here's another thing. On March 30th, 1981, the Illuminati staged a fake assassination of Ronald Reagan, and that, staged assassination attempt, I should say, an assassination attempt. And this caused his approval rating to jump dramatically. 2 months later, on May 13th, see, they always pick the number 13, May 13th, 1981, they staged a fake assassination attempt of Pope John Paul II. And according to the testimony of former Jesuit Alberto Rivera, he said that when he used to be a Jesuit, before he became a born-again believer, he was briefed at the Vatican and he was told that they deliberately staged the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan and the assassination attempt of Pope John Paul II because they wanted these two guys to become really good friends. So they used these fake assassination attempts to make it look like these guys both suffered the same things and they became best buddies, right? But guess what they did? They actually went on radio and TV interviews, and guess what they did? They actually gave all the glory and honor to Mary, Mother Mary, for saving them from being assassinated. And, Ronald Reagan gave the glory to Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, same thing with Pope John Paul. They both said, Mother Mary stopped the bullet from killing us. So it was just, it's really disgusting. They were just basically trying to infiltrate America with Roman Catholicism. Okay, so now you have on August 31st, 2023, which, 31st is 13 backwards, Tucker Carlson makes a cryptic statement about Trump being assassinated. Okay, why is he doing this? I think they're planning something. Tucker Carlson said, we're speeding towards a Trump assassination. Okay, and this is Alberto Rivera. I read some of his books. I read his testimony. He used to be a Jesuit, but then he became born again. And he went to Chick Publications and told his story. And he said that these two guys, that this was a fake assassination attempt for both of these guys. It was all staged by the Illuminati, okay? And it was all because they want to influence America for Roman Catholicism. Now, here's another thing. In the movie called the Left Behind series, you have Nikolai Carpathia, who plays the part of Nikolai Carpathia. He's supposed to be the Antichrist. He's holding up a green serum. Look how eerily similar he looks to a younger Donald Trump. I mean, that's crazy. He looks very similar to a young Donald Trump. The green serum is obviously a hint about Trump's snakebite poem. You know, he told this poem about a snake that bit the woman. And, you know, it tells us right here, a new study published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation has identified a snake venom-related enzyme that may be the key cause of related mortality. So I recommend you go to my other blog where I show more evidence of this. But take a look at this. Once again, Antichrist calculator, the name Nikolai Carpathia has the numerical value of 33. Donald Trump's moniker, Orange Man, also has a numerical value of 33. Now, Trump's family have purchased Nikola Tesla's time travel secrets because Trump's uncle used to work for the CIA and he had access to Tesla's technology. I think they deliberately chose the name Nikolai to connect it to Trump, right? And the writer of Back to the Future, his name was Bob Gale, he admitted in an interview that Biff Tannen was meant to be Donald Trump. And they show, you know, Donald Trump standing in front of a self-portrait of himself. Same thing, Biff Tannen standing in front of a self-portrait of himself. Now get this, Biff Tannen adds up to 33. Nikolai Carpathia adds up to 33. Orange Man adds up to 33. Come on, this is not an accident. And the Twin Towers, when it fell, was 33 years old. See, they're doing all of this on purpose. All of this they're doing on purpose. In fact, the guys who wrote the Back to the Future movie, Bob Gale, Robert Zemeckis, and also Steven Spielberg, they started a guild in Hollywood called the Hollywood Zionist Cinema Project. And in this guild, they use film to tell the elites what they're planning to do. And they showed us a lot of predictive programming in that film about the Twin Towers coming down. And that was in 1985. They showed us about the needles. Okay, they had a character in the movie, Douglas J. Needles, D.J. Needles. Okay, so I highly recommend going to that blog that I wrote called, what did Back to the Future tell us about Donald Trump? You're going to learn a whole lot more. I mean, the rabbit hole goes so deep. It's crazy. Okay, now, I don't know what they're planning. I really don't. I mean, anything's possible. But what if it's entirely possible they could have plans to clone a younger version of a Donald Trump who could come back as a 33-year-old man again? Maybe they have a younger version of Trump as a 33-year-old man. Remember, our Messiah was 33 years old when he died on the tree. Okay, and as I said, 9/11 is the product of, 99, and, 33 plus 33 plus 33 is 9/11. Incidentally, the Hebrew name is Abaddon in Revelation 9/11, and it's Apollyon. I believe they were performing a black magic ritual on 9/11/2001, letting us know that on the 33rd anniversary of the Twin Towers, they came down as a sign of the old order coming down and being replaced by the One World Trade Center. Okay, and they made it look exactly like a needle. I don't think that's an accident either. The One World Trade Center purposely looks like a syringe to send out the message, this is how they will take over the world for the beast. Okay. The Left Behind series showed us an Antichrist leader looking just like Donald Trump. As I already showed you, if they come out with an upgraded snakebite, that promises immortality and youth, perhaps a lot of people will want to take it. You know, perhaps they will create clones of celebrities that come back from the dead, supposedly, and that will be like lying signs and wonders. 2 Thessalonians 2:9 through 10. In my dream that I had in 2007, I dreamt about these people being cloned from cryogenics. You know, cryogenics is freezing people's bodies and using their DNA in the future to clone them. So that's what I saw in my dream. I saw all these DNA samples being frozen in these little freezers. So is it possible that all these celebrities who died, like such as Pope John Paul II, Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, Elvis Presley, all these big name people, that they're going to somehow make them come back from the dead, supposedly by cloning them, but these clones will be possessed by demons, you know, Nephilim. Maybe they'll be given AI, artificial intelligence, and it'll look like the beast resurrected all these people because he created this serum. Okay, so there's so many possibilities here. I can't help but wonder what they've got up their sleeve, but when I had this dream in 2007, I definitely saw that cloning and cryogenics were going to be part of creating an image to the beast. Now, here's another thing. Donald Trump's mother, Mary McLeod, she was a Scottish Jew from the tribe of Dan. Now, the tribe of Dan has been prophesied about in Scripture, and he's called a two-horned serpent that bites and deceives and kills his victims. Now, get this. This is really fascinating. When I looked into this prophecy, Genesis 49:17 says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder, a two-horned serpent in the path that bites the horse heels so that his rider shall fall backward. Okay, and here you, once again, I got Nikolai Carpathia holding up this green, serum. It says, Antichrist leader Nikolai Carpathia from Left Behind, World at War. He shows off the deadly green poison that will kill billions of souls on earth. And so they already told us this in the movie. Okay, and here we have a young Donald Trump. Look how eerily similar. Look how eerily similar. He looks like Nikolai Carpathia. I mean, look at that. It's so similar. It's crazy. And, when Trump first became president, he told this poem about a snake that gave a woman a deadly bite. And in the poem, he says, oh, shut up, silly woman. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Okay, so this is really, really crazy. So, back on March 21st, 2020, I know I've shared this countless times with you guys, but Yahuwah spoke to me and said, go look up Revelation 6:2. And when I did, I saw and behold a white horse. Well, the Greek word white is lukos, which means light. Okay, and in Isaiah 14:12, the fallen angel Hallel, his name is Lucifer because in Latin, that name means light bringer. But guess what? In 1 Corinthians, Paul says that Satan can transform himself as an angel of light. I believe Trump is going to be a false light, or he already is portraying himself as a false light. The other thing I saw was that the rider on the white horse had a bow. When I looked up the meaning of that word bow in Greek, it's toxon. And I'll explain that in a minute. And then he's given a crown. Well, the Greek word is Stephanos, but in Latin, it's corona. Okay, and it says he goes forth conquering. And that word conquer means to subdue. Okay, so this is what I was shown on March 21st, 2020. Okay, corona, crown, virus, poison in Latin. It means poison, bow, toxin, Greek. See, the history of this word toxon means bow or arrow. And it says, from this came the Greek toxikon, meaning a poison in which arrows are dipped. toxicon was borrowed into Latin as toxicum, which gave rise to the Latin verb intoxicare, which means to poison. Now, I couldn't help but notice the bow looks very similar to what is going to be used to inject this chip, this microchip that's going to enable people to buy or sell. I couldn't help but notice that. So that's an interesting tidbit that I had to share with you guys. Okay, so this prophecy in Genesis 49:16 says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Well, they're already calling Trump the king of Israel, right? And in Genesis 49:17, it says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder. Well, I decided to look up the meaning of the word adder, and it literally means a two-horned serpent. It says an adder in the path that bites the horse heels so that his rider shall fall backward. Well, like I said, this was on, March 21st, 2020. I was just washing the dishes, not really, aware of what was going on at that time, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, the Ruach, the Holy Spirit, says to me, go look up Revelation 6:2. And when I did, and I read all of this, he said to me, Trump is the rider on the white horse. And he's been given a bow and a crown. And so I was like absolutely stunned. And now we read this prophecy about Dan, the tribe of Dan, through which Trump's mother, Mary McLeod, she comes from the tribe of Dan. It says that Dan is a serpent, by the way, a two-horned serpent in the path that bites the horse heels so that his rider shall fall backward. So the name Dan means judge. And Yahuwah, I believe, is using Donald Trump to judge the world of their idolatry. He's going to use Donald Trump to test people to see who is worthy of the kingdom. Because many people are already worshiping him as a savior instead of looking for the real Messiah. And so this prophecy tells us that Dan shall be a serpent by the way. And when you look up that word for way, derek, it means a course of life, a mode of action. See, this means that Donald Trump's character is that of a serpent. It is his way of life. The Hebrew word adder is shephphon, and that word means a cerastes, or a two-horned serpent. So I decided to look it up because I had never heard of this, a cerastes, or a two-horned serpent. Well, it is also referred to as a devil-horned snake. There is a real creature called a devil-horned snake. The cerastes can have either two large ram-like horns or two pair of smaller horns. The cerastes hides its head in the sand with only the horns protruding out of the surface. This is meant to deceive other animals into thinking it's food. The cerastes also uses its horns to strike and to gore people or animals to death. And here it is, the two-horned viper cerastes. I went to the website and I read about this creature called the desert horned viper. Okay, it's a real creature. The venom, according to a report published in the Oxford Journal of Medicine, has more than 13 different toxins, a witch's brew of poisons that may vary in mix by geographical location within the reptile's range. It causes conditions such as massive local swelling, acute pain, excessive bleeding, clotting, depending on the blend of toxins, nausea, abdominal pain, sweating, exhaustion, kidney failure, and heart irregularities. The toxins could also inflict mental disorders, severe headaches, paralyzed facial muscles, and other peculiar sensations. So I've given a few different websites you can look at here. So, continuing, in Genesis 49:17, we learn that the Hebrew word for in the path is orak, which means a road well traveled, a caravan, an army, a troop, or a race. See, this speaks to the fact that I believe Trump has a warlike demeanor and that he means to harm anyone who stands in his way. The word bites in Hebrew is nashak, and it means to strike, to sting, to oppress. The word heals means to lie in wait at the rear of an army. The Hebrew word backward is akor, and it means to turn one's back toward East Jerusalem. So in other words, I believe Trump's going to turn his back on Israel, that he's going to send troops from the Northwest, which is America, and his 10-nation confederacy. See, it tells us that the horns on the beast, the 10 horns on the beast, are going to turn against the great whore. The great whore will be in Jerusalem. The Vatican will have set up their one world religion there in Jerusalem. The great whore, Mystery Babylon, is going to have their headquarters in Jerusalem. And it says he's going to turn on the whore. It says, these shall hate the whore and shall burn her with fire. So when we read this prophecy in Genesis 49:17, and then we look at all the Hebrew words, it's crazy, but it tells us that the Hebrew word backward means to turn one's back towards the east, Jerusalem, and to turn towards the northwest. That's what that word actually means. So this tells us that Trump will turn his back on Israel, that he's going to pretend to be in favor of Israel, but then he's going to do a 180. He's going to trick them. Okay? And this is shown in the prophecy of the Battle of Armageddon in Revelation 16. But get this, in the movie Left Behind, The World at War, we see Antichrist leader named Nikolai Carpathia. He's in a high-rise building in Manhattan, New York. And the high-rise building looks exactly like the Trump Tower in Manhattan, New York. And they show the building from the outside. It's obvious they're trying to show us the One World Trade Center. And then as Nikolai Carpathia stands in front of the Manhattan skyline in his office, he shows President Gerald Fitzhugh a vial of his green serum that will be used to kill millions of people. Now, President Fitzhugh is played by Louis Gossett Jr., and he's a black man. Now, at the very beginning of the film, they show President Fitzhugh speaking into a tape recorder, and he's saying, I'm the one that helped propel Nikolai Carpathia into power. See, what I believe they're showing us is that President Fitzhugh is Obama. Okay, because 8 years of Obama, an Obama presidency, is what made Americans disgusted enough that they were compelled to vote for Trump. So I believe they were showing us already that, President Fitzhugh in this movie, who's played by Louis Gossett Jr., he represents Obama. And 8 years of an Obama presidency is what propelled Trump into power. Of course, they already had him selected, of course, because the Illuminati we don't vote presidents into office. They already had him picked, but they still had to get the people to worship Trump. And of course, everybody went to the polls and voted for Trump because they didn't care if Trump had a really wicked past with, groping women and, doing all these disgusting things. All they cared about was, we got to get rid of Obama, right? So you can see how in the beginning of this film, in the movie, President Fitzhugh is saying, I'm the one that helped propel Nikolai Carpathia to power. That's exactly what they did. They used Obama to propel President Trump. Now they're telling us that the Antichrist leader is a man who is from Manhattan, New York. Trump, Nikolai Carpathia, like I said, looks a lot like a younger version of Trump. See, it reminds me of this poem that Trump told about the snake and the woman. He made it seem like he was talking about illegal immigration. He made it seem like, us letting illegal immigrants into the country is like we're the woman, and letting the snake into the country is just like letting these illegal immigrants into the country. But he was really giving us a cryptic message about himself. And see, I didn't figure it out until 2020 when I saw him rolling out the serum, right? He was telling us he's the snake who bit the woman with a deadly bite. And I explained that in this other blog called President Trump's Poem About the Snake and the Woman, which I recommend that you go read it. And it's all in here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I already have a blog about it. I already have a YouTube video about it. So I recommend you going to read it, but it's all in there. Then telling you they have planned everything out to the T. And I don't think it's an accident that Trump rolled out this NFT card on December 13th, the same date that Google rolled out their new AI program called Gemini. Okay, I really believe they are setting us up for the image of the beast. And so that concludes this, this teaching for today. And I'm ready to take your questions or comments.
Comments or questions. Let's see. Okay, you guys in Zoom, you can unmute if you like. We only got 2 people left in Zoom, Jennifer and Mark.
Anybody on
Oh yeah, we got 18 people on YouTube. Type in your question if you like. Good, Mark.
Okay, Maria, what are you thinking we're going to start to see with come this new year? I mean, we're only... the election comes up in November, less than a year out. Okay. We know that, they're talking about impeaching Biden. I think that's just all nonsense. It's just all nonsense. What do you see?
Well, I think there's a possibility, that they've been sitting on all this election fraud, supposedly from 2020. And, I remember talking about this in another video from a few months ago, that Roseanne Barr was on like this podcast, and she said she doesn't believe there's going to be another election.
Value attainment.
She believes that Trump is coming back without an election, that they're going to bring out all the election fraud evidence, and they're going to say Trump never lost the 2020 election, and the Democrats stole the election, and it's going to make everybody angry, and there's going to be rioting in the streets. That's what they want, order out of chaos. And I think it's entirely possible that Trump will just step right back in as number 45, and there won't even need to be an election. I think that's possible, right? Maybe he'll get assassinated because, Tucker Carlson's been talking about it. Trump Jr. had it, supposedly a hacker break into his account and talk about it. Maybe they're going to, the left, the deep state are going to be angry, and they're going to maybe have him suffer a deadly wound to the head or something. And then he's going to, maybe they're going to bring him back as a clone, or maybe Don Jr. will take his place. There's a number of possibilities, but I do know that the red heifers are going to be 3 years old in April of 2024. And that's all. The only thing that's holding them back from building the temple is they're waiting for those red heifers to be 3 years old. So I think that they might start building the temple in April of 2024. And who knows, at some point after the temple is built, they're probably going to put an image of the beast. Now, whether it's Don Trump Jr. and he's the second little horn, because it seems like there's two little horns. If you read Daniel 7 and then you read Daniel 8, it seems like there's one little horn and then there's another little horn in Daniel 8. Who knows? Or it could be just Trump coming back from the dead as a clone, or, I don't know. There's so many possibilities. I'm speculating here, but maybe he will select Don Jr. as his running mate, and his son Don Jr. will be his, it'll be like the father and the son, right? And he'll, maybe Don Jr. will make an image of his father and erect it in the temple, and force everybody to worship the image. I don't know. It's possible. But I do think that they're going to probably build the temple, and they are going to put an image to the beast.
You think they're going to do that in 24 or in 25? I think probably in 25.
Probably in 2025, I think. So, yeah. But I think they are going to at least start building the temple in 2024. So, I don't know. It's,
You have Gavin Newsom, who's jockeying for the Democratic nomination, and the whole Democrat Party slowly starting to turn on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. So, it's very interesting.
Now, the other question is, Maria, I don't know if you've seen this, but me and my wife were looking at this. It's this movie that's coming out. It says April 26, 2024. It's called Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the trailer, right, this thing looks crazy.
Is that the movie that's made by Obama, or is that a different movie?
That's a different one.
This is made by Garland.
Okay.
I think his first name, it might be John Garland, but his last name is Garland, right? But I think they're signaling something with this, what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to set up a civil war between this is going to be between Democrats and Republicans.
Absolutely. Yep.
Over the election. But,
yep.
As soon as we saw it, we saw the writing on the wall, like, oh my God, we knew it before, right? You saw it before. Maria, notice for a fact, you saw it with BLM. They were trying to pit us against each other, black and white.
That's right.
It didn't work. So now they're trying it again, but they're trying it with the election. They're banking on the election will cause a civil war.
Right.
And then here's another spin that Yahuwah has been revealing to me, and I think you might have got it. I'm not sure, but he's been showing me all these things, with the border, right? With all these people coming in off the border, and it's not just Mexicans coming in. It's Chinese, Syrians, Egyptians, everybody from around the world is coming in through the southern border, right? They're not even telling us how much are getting released every day. They just put out a spill to say, hey, we're doing something, right? They released that, okay, but this is being done on purpose. They're letting these people infiltrate, because when if this civil war kicks off, they're going to use these people, right, in a civil war against us. And these people, they won't have any trouble, killing us. And
you guys are in Hawaii, which I'm kind of envious of you guys.
It was on Maria. It was on CNN. I think I don't know, a couple weeks ago or a month ago, when the war kicked off in Israel, and I saw this article. No, it wasn't on CNN. It was an article, right? It might have been on CNN, but they said, how would it be with an invasion how would an invasion take place in America? A land invasion, right? How would that, what would that look like? And I started thinking of it. I was like, there's no way that could, the only way that really happened was with Pearl Harbor, but that wasn't a land invasion. That was an air invasion. They invaded by air.
Right.
So how would they do a land invasion in the United States without us knowing? I mean, we got more guns than anybody, right?
Sure.
But then it came to me, right? A land invasion. How can they do it? Open the border, southern border, let them come in, don't let us know, hide it, kick off a civil war, and now you got a land invasion. They're already here. They're in. Their numbers are built up.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have trouble killing us. They're foreigners. They don't care.
Right.
They got guns. Guns are easy to get in America. So I was like, wow, this is how it's gonna, this could be how this is gonna kick off.
Yeah. Yeah. Order out of chaos. That's what they want, and I've seen the writing on the wall with that for probably like 3 or 4 years now, ever since the January 6th Capitol
and
down.
When Hollywood releases a movie, it's not just just for their entertainment. They're sending, Hollywood is more into sending messages nowadays than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're releasing a movie about civil war right around the spring feast times, wow.
Yeah, they're priming.
Maria, that's great.
Yeah, they're priming people.
Yeah.
Power of suggestion.
Yep. Yep. Crazy stuff. I mean, like I said, I'm not prophesying anything. What I'm doing is I'm looking at current events and I'm comparing it to scripture and saying, "Wow, look at this." I don't pretend to know exactly, word for word, line by line how it's all going to unfold, but I see all these different possibilities, And so I definitely believe Trump is the closest candidate to be the little horn. He fits all the biblical markers. Like I said, it's possible even his son, Don Jr., he hasn't picked a running mate yet. It's possible he could pick his son, I don't know.
He's got lots of time and he likes to keep people guessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of his his manipulation.
Gary, is there anything in political rules, or Maria, have you guys ever seen anybody do that? I mean, that would be a first, right?
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, it's something just came up the other day. It's a new constitution. Okay, or the second. Okay, President Trump's second Declaration of Independence. Okay, somebody shared this with me the other day, and basically, it says, says, with the utmost respect and admiration for the founders of America and the framers of the original Declaration of Independence, the American people humbly emulate their thoughtful, measured response to certain perpetual and ascending tyranny and despotism. We too believe it is moral obligation of those privileged with knowledge and opportunity to work on behalf of the people, that the people are served best when their benefactors choose unity over division, nationalism over globalism. See, what you have is the nationalists are playing the part of Hitler and the Nazis, but the globalists are playing the part of liberalism and communism. So you got two evils playing against each other, but they're trying to force people to choose one or the other. So if you pick nationalism, you're picking Nazism. And if you're picking, hang on a minute.
Press the side button.
Yeah.
Stand by. Continue standing by. Sorry, guys. Stand by. Stand by.
Sorry about that, guys. I had to take that because, it was something I kind of thought was...
We're trying to sell and move, so...
We're trying to sell our stuff. We're not going to buy or sell on the Sabbath day, but I did take the call just to let the people know we're in the middle of a podcast, but we'll call you tomorrow.
Sabbath is over, by the way.
Oh, it is? Okay. But pray that we sell our stuff. Okay, so reading this article, did you write down the timestamp so we could take this piece out where I was on the call?
No,
So it says what distinguishes the Second Declaration of Independence from its progenitor is the object from which we seek independence. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's kind of lengthy, but my point is, I think it says the inevitable Civil War destroyed America's economy, ripped families apart, and cast a questionable shadow on the future of a once promising nation. I think that Trump is going to pretend to unify the nation under nationalism, just like Hitler did with Nazi Germany. And people are going to be willing to give up their, rights. And who cares if the, Declaration of Independence has been changed and the Constitution is changed. And now they're going to allow the president to step right back in as though he never left. And, they're going to allow a son to be the vice president. They can change the rules willy-nilly because people will be so ready for change that they won't dispute it. They won't care that rules are being changed. The Declaration of Independence is being changed. The Constitution is being changed, So that's another cog in the wheel, if you will. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but right now nothing is out of the question. Everything is in limits, like these guys can do whatever they want without it's kind of no holds barred, basically.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah. It's,
right.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else comments or questions? We'll come back to you, Mark, in case you have anything further you want to say. Anybody else?
Rudy in the chat mentions Noahide laws.
Yep, Noahide laws.
Go ahead,
exactly.
Jennifer.
Okay, well, I'm just still blown away about the December 13th thing that you did earlier. And the reason being, again, is because the Tick-Borne Disease Working Group, that's when it started December 12th. And I believe I spoke on the 13th there.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, what else on December 13th? So then, and then 2018 is when they launched that, the U.S. Congress National Quantum Initiative Act, providing an umbrella under which a number of government agencies develop and operate programming related to improving the climate for quantum science and technology in the U.S. And then Trump signed it into law on December 21st, 2018. Okay, so there's your day there.
Yeah.
And then also December 10th, 2018, Sanhedrin dedicated the third temple altar at the Western Wall with animal sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
So they had that little ceremony thing that they did. And then December 13th, 2022 is when they sunset the Tick-Borne Disease Working Group.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we have, and then by the way, like I emailed you and I mentioned, and I haven't put this together yet, but Kristen Honey, who was the vice president of the Tick-Borne Disease Working Group, she was a Stanford student and she had Lyme disease, and she injected herself with liquid like silver and gold are used in the Christmas trees and also minerals. And Trump did that executive order September 30th, 2020. And 2 days later, he was stricken, but he did an executive order to free up all the mining and mineral stuff, which was a big thing. And then 2 days later, he was stricken with the plague, the head wound. And then 3 days, he rose from the dead and was better. But anyways, and then let's see. Oh, and then December 14th,
Oh, wait a minute. Go back on what you said. You said he was struck in the head and was better. What date?
Yeah, coronavirus, October 2nd, a couple days
Oh,
later.
that. I thought you said December.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You meant to say
No.
October when he contracted the
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I talked
Yep,
about
so
that in my
thank you.
blogs.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
then,
when you said December, I'm like, that doesn't ring a bell.
I know. And then December 14th was that the big where it was a solar eclipse, and that's when they decided he no longer had a presidency. So it was when it was ruled, but the mark of the beast was already on December 8th warp speed that he announced, which on the Enoch calendar was the eve of Hanukkah. So anyways, because we have different calendars, but one thing is that the Jewish calendar and the Enoch calendar did come together just on December 13th this year, which is interesting because they overlap at times and then they go off because of how they, different, the Enoch used 30-day months and then where the others doesn't.
Yeah, we don't go by the Jewish, we go by the biblical 360-day calendar too, and the sighted moon. So we don't go by the Jewish calendar either.
Yep.
But
Awesome. So if you plug in then those dates of the king, so King Ahasuerus, it tells you the 12th year of the king or whatever. So you can find different in Esther and different in Ezekiel. You can find in Daniel the year of the king, and you can put that in. And Trump is Darius and Cyrus, so you can interchange that, and then you can see things happening on biblical dates. So that's what Leland did, which was really cool. So, but anyway, I just think it's just amazing, like that he just came out with that on December 13th. I haven't seen that. So,
what do you think the possibility? I mean, this is just something that I just ruminating about. I'm not, like I said, nothing's dyed in the wool for me. But what do you think about the possibility of his son Don Jr., because he was talking about it on his Twitter account, that his dad died and he's going to become the president. I wonder, because I know I even heard Leland Jones say this, that he thinks there's two little horns. And I know he speculated that the one little horn was Trump and the other little horn was Obama. I don't see that. I don't think Obama fits any of the characteristics.
Oh yeah, he did. The timing and everything with the prophecy on exact days, the Baphomet, even Leland before he said about there was going to be a trigger event on the 9th of Av, and on the 9th of Av on the Hebrew and the Jewish calendar and the Enoch was the Baphomet displayed in Detroit, Michigan, as Obama was in Kenya talking about the sacrifices in Michigan. And then 90 days later, you come to the woman clothed with the sun, Day of Atonement, September 22nd, 2017, on the Enoch calendar was the Day of Atonement that happened in. So then, so yeah, like all of it, like everything that has been going is on precise dates. So and then also we have the menorah, the 22 eclipses that are going on. And so they all correlate to the feasts, and they're actually so the feast and the Revelation. So Revelation 1 through 15 are all about the feast. So you got to know the feast. Like you're doing an excellent job explaining all of that. And then, but the feast. So, and that's a problem that people don't understand the feasts of Yah. So they don't understand things. The prophecy is at hand and they don't see it. But then also the eclipses are happening every 6 months apart, and they're 2 weeks apart. So you have a solar and then a lunar eclipse, and that is the Acts 2:20, and then Joel 2 is, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yahweh. So it's corresponding. So, it's a lot to look at it, but it's just neat to see. It's just watching, the hand of Yah, watch his prophecy, everything that he says.
Right. I mean, if Trump comes back as number 45 and then suddenly, like, just say that Trump came back as number 45 without another election, right? And let's just say his running mate is his son, okay? And then, well, wait a minute. How would that work? Then his son would be what, 47, number 47, or would he be? No, he'd be 46, wouldn't he? I don't know. But
Is it 546?
4 plus 5 is 9, and 4 plus 7 is 11, which makes 9/11. So, I'm just looking at this and going, that would be kind of weird. But, Donald Trump Jr. adds up to 666, and so does President Donald Trump. So it's possible, just thinking like maybe there are two little horns. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't see that, but I mean, we all see differently, right? So I see it differently than what you do. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, I don't know for sure. It's just a speculation.
But they're going to put things in our mind, right? Because that's what part of the programming is, to get us to thinking. It's the hidden hand. So they show you one thing over here while they're doing something else.
Right, exactly. I know. Yeah.
That's what they do. Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he tweeted about my dad's dead and I'm going to become the president. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah. So there's a number of things, number of possibilities. But yeah.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, I just thought that this was pretty amazing that he came out with this golden image looking just like Nebuchadnezzar on the 13th. And the same date, Google rolled out their Gemini, their Gemini AI, and Trump is a Gemini. I just like, what the, that's crazy,
Yeah, and they're trying to get, and then October 4th, FEMA sent out those codes and alerts, and then 3 days later there was war, right? And that's what comes out of the mouth of the false prophet and the beast, and it's frog-like spirits, right? And so, and there was an MK Ultra book that how the Illuminati create an undetectable total mind control slave by Cisco Wheeler and Fritz Springmeier. It talks about the Kermit codes, and Kermit connects computers together. So they've had this for a while. So, and you wonder if the Xenobots, because they came out with the Xenobots before the mark came out, and you don't know what's in it because they left it all blank on purpose. So really everything that's in it, we don't really know. And it's Tagma. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They threw in everything but the kitchen sink probably. But it definitely is an AI thing. It self-assembles. And it gives people raw data. So if you use a BLE scanner, and you can't use Apple because they won't let you find it, but it was on the other devices that you could actually download and find the people. And it's really sad because they have a MAC address, right? So they can hook up to the AI, to the beast computers. So, and this is something that wasn't in any of the other needles. So jabs. So this is where this one in, and then there are people in Whole Foods and different things. I don't know if you've seen in also different countries where they can't buy or sell without it. So our country, we've been fortunate, but not everybody here, because a lot of people were forced and, did get it and were tricked into it. But yeah, so it's sad.
Yeah, well, it's just the timing of this is pretty crazy with, Hanukkah and, Trump's golden image on December 13th.
Yes,
just
that is. Yep. It's just, he's going to continue. It's going to continue until, our real king comes back and defeats everybody, right?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and say a quick prayer and sign off. Father Yahuwah, we love you. We praise you. We worship you. Yahuwah, we adore you. We thank you for Yahushua HaMashiach. We thank you that you have shed your blood for us, that we can come boldly before your throne of grace to find mercy and help in time of need. We lift up everybody that joined today. Father, anyone who needs a physical healing in their bodies, we ask you to touch them and heal them. Anyone who needs a financial miracle, we ask you to touch their bodies and touch their finances, touch their marriages, their relationships. We ask for every prayer request to be answered, Father. You know what they are. We ask you to pour out your favor and your Ruach HaKodesh on each person, Father, and hear every prayer. And we thank you, Father, in the name of our Messiah, Yahushua, for every person who attended. And may they have a blessed week coming up. And till next week, We will probably be back for another teaching on, December 25th and the birth of all the Antichrist leaders of the past. Probably going to be doing something about that next week. But Father, in the name of Yahushua, thank you. And may Yahuwah be with all of you. Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, guys.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you.
We love you guys. We love you guys.
All
Shalom.
right.
All right. Bye-bye.
God bless you guys.
God
You
bless
too.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.